continue with our study of the Ishavasya Upanishad, commented by Prabhuji. And we're in the invocation, and we're going to actually get to the second line of this mantra. And I'll read the whole mantra so we are clear on where we are. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And the mantra translates as, this is the whole, from that whole the whole is manifested. When the whole is extracted, the whole is still the whole. And we discussed what Purnam Idam and Purnam Adaha means, that Purnam means this is Purnam, that is Purnam. And now we get to the second line. The second line says Purnat Purnam Udachyate. Now to understand that, we need to know a little bit of Sanskrit grammar to really understand the meaning, how this translates to English. So in Sanskrit, there's no prepositions like in English. So if you want to say from the village, for example, the word from is a preposition. It tells us something about the whole sentence. It tells us what the idea is, saying that something comes from the village. Now, in Sanskrit, to say the same thing, we actually change the form of the word. So the noun itself, instead of adding something, another word, like in English, we change the word itself. And there are several cases in Sanskrit for different things, like saying that something is the subject, or something is like belongs to something, or something is, or to say like a command, and so on. So the fifth case, as you said in Sanskrit, shows that something is from, and like as we said, from the village, but not only for physical occasion, but also for causes. So like we say, something caused something else, like from his from his melancholy something happened, he wrote, that. So that shows that the from there shows a reason, a cause for something. So that's why we have the same word Purnam, but in this case the ending changes to at, so Purnat. So what it means is Purnat Purnam means literally from Purnam, Purnam. Udachyate means manifested. So then we can understand why the word repeats like this. We understand a little bit of the Sanskrit. From Purnam, Purnam comes. And as we said, it's not only like for a physical occasion, it's also for a reason, for a cause. So you can understand it also like as from Purnam as a cause, Purnam comes. Okay? Now we read in the invocation, this is page 33, and here Prabhuji mentions the four causes of that Aristotle wrote. And there are causes in Hindu philosophy, and he will actually mention their name, but he doesn't explain them. He doesn't explain the reasons from the Hindu perspective. He actually uses the Western perspective, which is, as I said, given to us by Aristotle. So Prabhuji writes, according to Aristotle, the material cause is the material use for creation, while the efficient cause is the creator. For example, in painting, we would say that the canvas and the paint are the material cause, and the painter is the efficient cause. The universe raises two questions for us. What its material cause is, or upadana karana, and what is the efficient cause, or nimitta karana. The Upanishad established Brahman as the material cause of the universe. It's interesting that Prabhuji mentions Aristotle. Why? Because if we go to the four causes of Aristotle, we will see that they are connected to something really interesting in relation to what he doesn't explicitly write here, but I think, and this is my speculation, that he alludes to something that we will see very soon. So what are the four causes of Aristotle? Aristotle defines that there are, for everything, four causes. And he doesn't necessarily talk about the universe or creation. He speaks about just causes in general. So the first cause is the material cause. And the way Aristotle defines it is that out of which a thing comes to be and which persists is called cause, meaning the bronze of the statue. So the material cause is the matter of the thing. So Prabhuji gave the example of a painting. So we have the canvas and we have the paint. These are the materials that make up the effect, and the effect is the painting. Aristotle gives a statue made of bronze, and then the metal bronze is the material cause of the statue. So this is very clear. And then we have the efficient cause, which we mentioned already. And Aristotle writes, the primary source for the change or coming to rest, the man who gave advice is the cause, the father is the cause of the child, and generally what makes of what is made and what causes change of what is changed. Okay, so the efficient cause is the kind of the agent that started some kind of process, some kind of change that brought about some result, like the father of the child. If you, or in Prabhuji's the example is the painter. The painter is the efficient cause of the painting, because the important thing about an efficient cause is that if you take out the efficient cause, if there's no father, there will be no child. If there is no painter, there will be no painting, because who will paint the painting? Who will start? So you can have all the other causes. You can have the material, the paint, you have the metal, you have even the form, you have the purpose. But if you don't have the agent that starts the whole process, you won't have the result. And that is the efficient cause. And Aristotle writes all this in his book Physics, where I took those definitions. These are Aristotle's own definition of what the causes are. And as I said, Aristotle really meant this in general for everything, these four causes. And he defines them not only as cause, but as a question, as the answer for why. Like why something happens. That is a cause. Now, here we're talking about like Prabhuji is talking about something not like objects, like painting, but the universe, the entire reality that we experience. And he says the universe raises two questions. What is the material cause? And what is the efficient cause? And they say that, it's weird that there is something, right? It's much more logical that there wouldn't be anything. But there is something, there is a universe, and we see a universe. We experience a universe, and so the existence of the universe brings about, the question is, first of all, what is it made of? What is this? in terms, and then we get into what matter is, and we can go into the scientific side of exploring what matter is. And then, what's the efficient cause? I mean, who made this? But the question, who made it, what is the efficient cause, brings us to think about, wait, are we talking about a creator for the universe? Now, as I said, explicitly Prabhuji doesn't mention that, but there is actually a very famous philosophical use of the efficient cause in talking about the creator, and that is the St. Thomas Aquinas proof, one of his proofs for the existence of God. St. Thomas Aquinas has 5 proofs that he created to prove logically that God exists. One of them, which is his second way, is using the efficient cause. So let's see what St. Thomas Aquinas writes in his book, the Summa Theologica, part 1, question 2. The second way is from the nature of the efficient cause. In the world of senses, we find there is an order of efficient causes. There is no case known, neither is it indeed possible, in which a thing is found to be the efficient cause of itself. For so it would be prior to itself, which is impossible. Now, in efficient causes, it is not possible to go on to infinity, because in all efficient causes following in order, the first is the cause of the intermediate causes, and the intermediate cause is the cause of the ultimate cause, whether the intermediate cause be several or only one. Now, to take away the cause is to take away the effect. Therefore, if there be no first cause among efficient causes, there will be no ultimate nor any intermediate causes. But if in efficient causes it is possible to go on to infinity, there will be no first efficient cause, neither will be there an ultimate effect, nor any intermediate efficient causes, all of which is plainly false. Therefore, it is necessary to admit a first efficient cause to which everyone gives the name of God. This is what St. Thomas Aquinas gives as his second proof of God. He thinks this is a valid logical proof that proves the existence of God. And let's analyze this a little bit. First, he starts with saying, we see that the world with our senses. So we see a world and we see objects in the world. And we see that every object has an efficient cause. Okay? Like we see a tree, we know that that tree came from a seed, and that seed came from another tree. We see animals, we know the animals had parents, and so on. We ourselves, as people, none of us exists just out of nothing. We had parents, and everything has an efficient cause. And so, and then he says, nothing can be the efficient cause of itself, because then it would be prior to itself. So he clearly says that the efficient cause comes before the effect, which is logical. So nothing can be the efficient cause of itself, because then he would be before itself, and that is impossible. Then efficient causes have an order. They come one after another. Now, if you take away the cause, you take away the effect, right? If we take away the painter, we won't have a painting. So, because everything has an efficient cause, and everything is in a chain of causes, one after another, this order must have a first cause. Now, what he's actually saying is, it can't be infinite. Because something infinite, an infinite change, doesn't have a beginning. There's no first cause. So because every cause must have a cause to it, you must have a first cause. If you can't, this chain cannot run in infinity. Because if it does, there is no first cause. And if there is no first cause, there's not the cause after that, and then the whole chain breaks and nothing exists. But we see things that exist. So something has to be. It has to have a first cause. So he writes, therefore, it is necessary to admit a first efficient cause, to which everyone gives the name of God. So he's saying, God is that first cause. God created the whole universe, and he started basically everything, because he's the first efficient cause. Now, Prabhuji doesn't write this, all of this. He goes on, after what we read, he goes in, and he brings a verse from the Taittiriya Upanishad, which is very interesting and has relation to explanations in Vedanta, which we will investigate later. But the verse says, seek to know that from which all beings here are born, having been born, by which they remain alive, and into which, on departing, they enter. That is Brahman. If you remember, we already explained that Brahman and Purnam is really the same. We're talking about the same thing. And Prabhuji writes, Vedanta automatically refers to Brahman as the efficient cause. However, the scriptures do not directly say it is the efficient cause, since the existence of more than one unlimited totality is impossible. An unlimited material cause necessarily excludes the existence of a second unlimited efficient cause. The Upanishad asserts that both subjectivity and objectivity are Purnam or Brahman, therefore both share the same efficient and material cause. As effect of the same cause, subject and object are essentially identical. If an efficient cause were needed, the God creator of the universe would be an integral part of the totality or Purnam. So let's analyze this a little bit. So Prabhuji says that Vedanta does not specify Brahman directly as the efficient cause. Okay, so it's not as in Thomas Aquinas' case that he says the first efficient cause is what we call God. Here they say we talk about Brahman, but Vedanta doesn't specify him as an efficient cause. And why? Because what Vedanta is saying is exactly the opposite of the proof of St. Thomas Aquinas. The proof of St. Thomas Aquinas is valid if, and only if, the efficient cause is something different from the result. So if A is the cause of B, A must not be B. As, like he said at the beginning, there's an order, like a chain of causes. So everything has its own efficient cause, and the chain goes back till the first efficient cause, which is God. But the logic behind this came from the first statement of St. Thomas Aquinas, where he writes, in the world of senses, we find that there is an order of efficient causes. So his conclusion is based on a sensual observation of the world. He sees the world, he sees objects, and he sees that every object has a cause. And that is true if you're looking at objects. But we just learned in the Upanishad that both the subject and object are Purnam. Purnam idam, Purnam adaha. So we are not looking at the world in the same way. So the starting point of St. Thomas Aquinas is different from the starting point of the Upanishad. The Upanishad is saying that both are Purnam, and Purnam is Brahman. So if these objects are separated and independent from the subject, then St. Thomas Aquinas would be correct, because then every object must have an efficient cause. And the minute you establish that, okay, every object has an efficient cause, his oral argument is completely valid. And then what comes of it is that the first efficient cause, which is God, is different from the creation. Now, what Prabhuji writes here, that the Vedanta does not say that Brahman is the efficient cause. Why? Because the existence of more than one unlimited totality is impossible. An unlimited material cause necessarily excludes the existence of a second unlimited efficient cause. So, in St. Thomas Aquinas' case, the creator is different from the creation, because it is the efficient cause of that. The painter is different from the painting. The sculpture is different from the statue. But if we say that Brahman is unlimited, unlimited means that nothing can limit it. And if you have something which is different from it, then in some way you're limiting Brahman, because you're saying there is something that is not Brahman, and there's a limit. You just limited Brahman in a way. And so that's why he's saying that you can't have this. And then he says, both share the same efficient and material cause. Basically, that's saying that this distinction of efficient cause and even material cause is irrelevant, because they are the same thing for Brahman. They are effects of the same cause. Subject and object are essentially identical. If an efficient cause were needed, the God creator of the universe would be an integral part of the totality of Purna. And then he brings a very classic example that is used in Vedanta. The phenomenon of sleeping with dreams is a good example of an experience in which diverse effects share the same cause, both material and efficient. The dreamer is both the material and efficient cause of the dream, since both substance of the dream and its creator come from the dreamer. And this is amazing, because we're talking about the universe and we're talking about, God, creation, and all these things. But then Vedanta brings us to something which everybody experiences, and is something that we all can relate to. Something very, very simple, a dream. In the dream, we go into a dream and we experience objects. And there is a subject who is experiencing those objects. We go and we see, we are walking in the street and we see people and we interact with them, we talk to them, and, it can be scary, it can be funny, it can be weird. But there is a subject, someone who is going around in this dream, and all these objects. But in fact, we know, the minute we wake up, we realize all of that was just a dream. What does it mean? That all of that was in our mind. So the materials that we experienced, the forms that we saw, the people, even us as a subject inside the dream, all of this was a creation of the mind. So the material cause of the dream and the efficient cause of the dream are the same, are us. Prabhuji writes, the dream is a dual experience in which subject-object relationship is established. However, the separation in the dream is false, since the matter that all the objects and characters are made of is the very dreamer. Within the dream, you are both the observer and the observed, both the subject and object. We will go into this example because it's something that's used in Vedanta a lot to show us how this thing that we discussed all these classes, that the subject and object is one thing. And we said, how can that be? How can be that the objects that I see and the fact that I see them, the observer inside me, is the same thing? I mean, all our experience is totally against it. It's against logic. Because as you can see from the example of Thomas Aquinas, if you look at the things as the subject sees them, meaning that there are objects, and so if there's objects, I can say why the objects exist, and then I get into the causes. This is what Aristotle came. He says why things exist, and he says, okay, there are causes, and he starts dividing them into 4. So if I follow that thinking, then we get to the conclusion of St. Thomas Aquinas. Yes, if everything has a cause, then there must be a first cause. You can't have this chain for it, like, that chain cannot be infinite. It has to have a first cause. That's totally logical. But if we apply this to the dream, then everything breaks apart. Because in the dream, whatever we see, the reason and the material is just us. And we will continue learning this in the next classes. Jai Prabhuji.